Hi everyone, I'm Misty with Adamson Equestrian, and today I'm sitting down with Joanne Pierce. She's an equine artist. Hi Joanne.
Hi, Misty. It's
Hi.
great to meet you.
It's great to meet you too. How are you doing today?
Very well,
Good.
thanks. Had a nice Halloween and
Good.
just trying not to eat more candy right now.
I know. We've got a whole bowl left, so I completely understand what you mean. Do you want? Should we just jump right in?
Sure,
Yeah. Okay.
whatever you feel like talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm good.
Okay. Well, I saw that you didn't necessarily have an equestrian background when you were growing up. What kind of drew you to horses in the first place?
Correct. I absolutely have no idea.
Yeah.
I just, I just always remember loving them.
Yeah.
My earliest memories, I just wanted to be near them and around them. And the Long Island was a large horse, had a large horse population where I
Yeah.
grew up. So I saw them all around me, and I would see the women riding.
Yeah.
People used to ride a lot on the roads
Yeah.
back then. It was 25A was a very quiet road, and I'd see the women riding with their black velvet helmets, and oh my gosh, I just wanted to do that so badly. I drove my poor family insane, and but that's all I can remember drawing as a young child from like the age of 6.
Yeah. I saw somewhere that you had gifted yourself riding lessons when you turned 40. Were you able to like get in the saddle before then, or was that the first time you were able to start riding?
I was. I had a wonderful friend who had horses
Yeah.
not too far from where I grew up. And she was so kind. She would give me riding lessons for $1 an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was great. She was a good friend of myself and my younger sister Mary, name's Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to ride, just trail ride throughout nearby where I grew up was called Sands Point.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not developed very much. So we would ride throughout Sands Point. I have pictures of myself, of course, no helmet.
Yeah.
Um, and then she gave me some riding lessons when I guess we were in junior high or high school. And then I sort of got away from horses as I went off to college and was studying art,
Yeah.
and um, didn't realize how much it was still in me until my son, when he was 7, he said, I want to ride a horse.
Yeah.
And we were out the door in a second to ride a barn
Yeah.
nearby. And as he took lessons, and my little daughter was 4 at the time, and they'd give her pony rides, um, I
Fun.
said to myself, I'm going to give myself real
Yeah.
lessons. And that's how that began. For my 40th birthday,
Fun.
that's what I did.
Do you still ride now?
Pardon?
Do you still ride now?
Yes, I had to take a few years off because I was a caregiver for my parents and my sister-in-law. So I'm looking now for a barn in my area
Mm-hmm.
to get back into it. I'm a little nervous about,
Yeah.
it's been about 7 years, so I'm a little nervous about
Getting
my
back in
core
there.
strength.
Yeah. I completely understand. I was kind of the same way, so I completely understand. Um, can you tell us a little bit about who influenced you to start a career in art?
Yeah, I don't remember any exact moment when that happened. It was seemed to always have been a given from a young child. Both sides of my family were very, very talented people, and but I sort of remember in high school there was an intern program where we could go down to the junior high and help out our art teachers, and I was very close to all my art teachers, and I enjoyed that a great deal. And then when I was student teaching in college, I had a fantastic experience at the Poughkeepsie Day School. And I just knew this is the funnest thing. I love it. I
Yeah.
have to do this.
Yeah. Is that kind of what inspired you to start teaching art lessons then?
Yeah, I always loved doing it. And I also found that while you're having the fun of teaching, you also are learning.
Yes.
And I loved that part as well, if not more, of it would sharpen my own skills, but I also learned a lot from my students.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you tell us a little bit about the platform that you have on YouTube, the Pierce the Heart lessons?
sure can. About a year ago, we started Pierce the Heart lessons, and oh, I guess it was maybe 2 years ago, my son and I began talking about the internet and the world. And I'm from a generation of brick and mortar art
Yeah.
schools. So I had been thinking of starting one since now that my kids are almost on their own. And my son talked with me about, the world is really online now. And he began to educate me
Uh-huh.
to the internet. So I really enjoyed it. And that was the beginning of Pierce the Heart lessons. And what I wanted to do primarily was to give beginner lessons to show that it's not too hard to start. And I was getting discouraged as an adult hearing other adults say, I can't draw a straight line.
Yeah.
I can't draw. And then hearing stories from childhood, what their art teachers might have said to them or their peers might have said to them. And that broke my heart because I know there are very simple building blocks to begin. And then when COVID happened, that really motivated me to get it in gear and do more lessons because I saw people really needed it.
Yeah. Well, if you were to come across somebody or like just a normal conversation and you're talking to them about art and they have absolutely zero clue about anything art related, what would you say to them to convince them to try these art lessons?
That is such an excellent question. No one's ever asked me that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent. It makes me think of when I was younger. I digress for just a moment. When I was younger in my 20s, and people would say, "Oh, Joanne, what do you do?" And I'd say, "I'm an artist." You saw this glaze come over their eyes at a
Yeah.
cocktail party. They didn't know what to make of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to try to connect that with, like, a friend of mine's a very, very awesome, um, a friend of mine is an awesome musician. And I tried to turn the tables and say, okay, if he were to teach me how to play the violin at 40, 50, 60 years
Mm-hmm.
old, how would I feel comfortable? And it would be if he said, just do this one step, practice that for a week. If it was baby steps and I didn't feel anybody was judging me, and I really felt somebody said, you can do it, I would try it.
Yeah.
So I like to do that with the art and say, people will often say, as I said before, I can't draw a straight line. And I say, neither can I. Here's my ruler, here's my T-square.
Yeah, there you go.
And just give examples of, let's just start, because starting's the hardest, as we know, in any field in life, at
Mm-hmm.
diet, exercise, anything, is the starting part. So I would say, you know what? I really think you can do it. Let's just sit and draw together.
Yeah. You seem like you would be a sweet art teacher. When you're sitting down to create a piece of art, what is your absolute favorite process of it? Or do you have a favorite process?
Yeah. I think I have two.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy, I'll start off with the negative, which is probably not a good thing. But the incubation part is so long. So when I get that final sketch done, I am so happy. And then I really enjoy, most of my work has been in colored pencil since my kids were born. So I didn't have a big space
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of time. And I fell in love with colored pencil. So when I have a finished sketch and I lay in all my colors, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
One last, I have another little favorite part. Um, at the end of a piece, I do what I call a grid search. And I visualize my piece in grids and I check my drawing. And if I find something that's off and I can fix it, and when I fix it, I should say, it is like putting the final piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
It's that satisfaction feeling of, woo, we're done.
Yeah.
It's done. And that's really a great part too.
Yeah. That's actually funny that you say that because in order for me to be able to draw anything, I have to use a grid. So I have to be able to look at it and then I'll make a grid and then draw what's in whatever grid. So it's funny that you say that.
It's a great technique and it's been used throughout art history.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought I was original.
Well, people, when I was in college in the 70s, they kind of moved us away from those building blocks and techniques. So it was kind of like free art and be yourself and do what you love. And, we're not going to really tell you what to do because that's not art. But that really wasn't accurate, I found, because in order to be free to create what is intrinsically your voice, you need the skills. You need those concrete building blocks.
Yeah.
And that's so a lot of those old techniques are tried and true and necessary. But people feel guilty, like, oh, I traced.
Yes.
No, you can trace. It's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how and the creative process is hard because I feel like for some people with art, I have to be looking at something in order to be able to draw it. It's not something that I can just pull out of my brain, and sometimes that in itself feels like you're copying work or
Yeah, that's a big issue to get over is the feeling of copying. That took me a long time because, again, coming from my generation, it was on the heels of the 60s and abstract expressionism, etc. And realism really wasn't in favor. Like, well, why would you draw that horse? You could take a photograph of it. Well, no, that's what I love, and that's my personal expression. So I like to use the phrase individualism because I feel people should just do what really motivates them and moves them and what they love.
Yeah.
If you're spending 2 months on a piece or a year or 2 weeks, you got to love it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You don't want to be doing something you don't love.
Yeah, if you have to stare at it for that long of a time, if you don't love it, it's probably going to come across in your work.
Yes, and then it really is stale, and then after doing it over and over and over and over again, then you can just pull it up out of your head. That takes a lot of experience. I don't know many people who can draw without looking at something. And the building blocks of drawing is you are encouraged to look at your subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with your long career in art, have you had like a favorite, like absolute favorite moment that you can go back to that like, that's my favorite moment ever?
Oh, yes. And it's reminding me of one of your earlier questions, which I'll touch upon as well. I got to go down to the Kentucky Horse Park as a guest artist.
Ooh.
And it was one of the happiest days of my life. My son took me down, and as a child growing up, and that was like the Mecca to get to Kentucky.
Yeah.
I loved horses, and to go to the museum there. And my favorite horse as a child was Man of War. And I walked into the park and I turned, and there was this, I turned, and down the sidewalk was the huge statue of Man of War.
Yeah.
And that was really one of my favorite moments in my
Yeah.
career.
Very cool.
And I drew, of course, as a child, I drew Man of War and Secretariat and the.
So did was that kind of like bringing it full circle for you?
It was, and it was like a dream come true, because as a child, coming from a family without a great deal of means, it didn't seem possible for me to be in the horse world.
Yeah.
And then I found out it was. And but getting back to your question earlier as well, I loved horse books when I was a child and the illustrators. Blaze Finds the Trail.
Yeah.
And I think that was also an influencer on me. And
Yeah.
I wanted to do that.
That, I love there's King of the Wind. I don't know if you've ever read that one.
I have the paperback from when I was
Oh,
still a kid.
oh
It's on my
wow.
shelf right in my bedroom, Tom.
That is
Yes,
very cool. I love the illustrations in that book. That when I was a kid, that's all I remember. I didn't even actually remember the story. I just remembered the pictures.
I just recently moved to a new studio and I was unpacking and I found all my old books
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I'm holding this paperback. It's very brittle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very
great,
cool.
great book.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the holiday ornaments that you make?
Yeah, for a while now, I've been painting ornaments on glass and on plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it began because I was making a gift from my niece in Virginia
Mm-hmm.
of her white pony.
Oh.
And I loved it. So, yes, so my ornaments are primarily of my favorite subject, horses, but I also do landscapes and snow scenes. And I receive a lot of orders every year for custom ornaments,
Okay.
and that might be someone's horses, their dogs, favorite animals. Last year, for example, I did 7 ornaments for a riding instructor as gifts for her students, and she had taken photographs of her students riding,
Yeah.
and
That's
I
cool.
painted ornaments of those photographs.
Yeah.
And I just love doing them so much. My studio is Christmas all year round.
Oh, fun. If somebody was interested in, like, say, I wanted to contact you to do a custom ornament of my horse or my dog, where would you go to
Mhm.
do that?
So you would go to my email, mail at jypfineart.com for ornament inquiries.
Okay.
And then we would discuss what photographs the person has, etc.
Okay. Okay. What about other, like your art prints and stuff like that? Is that something that you sell as well?
I do. I sell originals and prints, and I have a website. It's www.joanne, Joanne, letter Y, Pierce, Pierce.com, and Instagram at Pierce the Heart Lessons, also at Joanne Y. Pierce Fine Art.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make sure that I put all the links for your videos in the description below the video so everybody can just click on the link and come straight to you, okay?
Awesome. That's just incredible.
Yeah. It's been so much fun talking to you. I hope we can do this again in the future soon.
You too,
Yeah.
Misty. I hope so too.
Yeah. You have a great day and good luck with your beautiful art.
Oh, thank you very much. You too. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.